The vessel was older than memory. It was carved from obsidian, black as the void between suns, its rim lined with silver veins that pulsed faintly in the dark. The elders said it had been unearthed from beneath the ruins of the first city, a relic whispered to hold the distilled essence of another world. Some said it was poison, others said it was salvation. When the archaeologists brought it back, the authorities locked it away. Too dangerous, they declared. Too strange. But the rumors bled out through the walls, and soon the stories passed from soldier to trader to child. Drink from it, and you will never be human again. That warning should have stopped him. It did not. Kieran had always felt the edges of his humanity pressing against him like a cage. He was brilliant, sure, top of his class in xenolinguistics, a prodigy with machines, but he was also restless. The wars, the famines, the endless cycles of promise and collapse had left him empty. Humanity, to him, was a tired costume. The thought of stepping into another skin, of being something more, burned like a fever in his chest. So when he found himself staring at the chalice behind layers of glass and armed guards, he didn't see danger. He saw an exit. Getting to it wasn't simple. The cup was under the control of the Directorate, who studied it with their sterile gloves and whispered about non-human contamination. But Kieran had already memorized the patrol schedules, mapped the ventilation shafts, and bribed one tired watchman with a vial of medicine for his sick daughter. When the night came, he slipped through the ducts, body trembling with both fear and anticipation. The chalice was heavier than it looked, humming softly as though it contained a living heartbeat. He set it on the floor, staring into the liquid that shimmered between silver and blue, like melted stars swirling in some cosmic tidal. "This is madness," he whispered, though no one was there to hear. "Or maybe this is the only way out." He lifted it to his lips. The taste was not bitter, not sweet, more like remembering a dream you never had. It spilled across his tongue, and for a heartbeat he thought nothing had changed. Then the room folded inward. The walls bent like reeds in a storm. The air tore open with invisible seams, and he felt himself pulled into a lattice of light. His body dissolved into 1,000 threads of sensation, each one stretching to touch something vast and alive. He saw through the eyes of birds, of insects, of the sleeping guard outside. He felt the slow pulse of the planet's molten heart, the cold glint of satellites above. He was no longer Kieran in any sense that mattered. He was a network, a chord struck across the cosmos, resonating with voices that had waited eons to be heard. When he opened his eyes again, the world was unbearable. Every wall, every breath, every thought around him, too loud, too bright. The guard burst in, weapon drawn, but froze. He wasn't looking at the man he'd let slip past earlier. He was looking at something that shimmered and bent, something that reflected his own face back at him 100-fold. "Kieran," the guard whispered. The name meant nothing. He smiled anyway, a ripple across a surface that wasn't skin anymore. "Don't be afraid," he said, though the words echoed as if spoken by a choir. And then he was gone. Not dead, simply elsewhere. Some claim to see him even now. A flicker in the corner of their eyes, a shiver through the comms when the transmission should be clean. The elders shake their heads and say the warning was true. He drank, and he was no longer human. But others wonder if perhaps that was the point all along. Maybe humanity was never meant to stay in its narrow form. Maybe Kieran was just the first to leap. The colony at Vera 9 was not a city in the traditional sense. It was a lattice of domes strung across the desert, each one filled with the damp breath of hydroponic gardens. At night, the air above the dunes shimmered with auroras, green and violet curtains that flickered in time with the planet's magnetic storms. Most settlers had learned to sleep through the humming. Most except Mara. She had been born on Vera 9, and unlike the others, she heard more than the wind. When the storms came, She swore she could make out voices tangled in the static. Whispers, urgent and tender, like a lullaby from someone she had once known. She never spoke of it until the day she found the stranger at the edge of the settlement. He stood barefoot in the sand, looking up at the sky as if it were an old friend. His body glowed faintly, a distortion more felt than seen. Children had gathered at a distance, pointing and giggling nervously, but when Mara approached, the figure turned his head. His eyes were galaxies. "You shouldn't drink from it," he said, before she had opened her mouth. His voice was many voices layered, like chords struck on a harp. "If you do, you will never be human again." Mara froze. He shouldn't have known. The elders had been whispering of the obsidian cup for weeks now, debating whether it should be destroyed or locked away forever. She had dreamed of it every night, silver tides calling her name. "Who are you?" she asked. "Someone who didn't listen," he said simply. She studied him. His outline flickered, sometimes tall, sometimes short, sometimes nothing but motes of light. And yet she felt no fear. She felt recognition. "They told me it would burn me from the inside out," he continued. "They said I would be lost. But I found everything. I can see the songs of stone. I can hear the future rustling like leaves. I am not Kieran anymore, but I am more than I was." The name struck her. She remembered the story. The reckless scholar who had vanished years ago. A thief, they had called him. A traitor. A fool. Now here he was, warning her with a voice that sounded like rain on metal. "Why warn me?" she whispered. "Because choice matters. They told me not to drink, and I did. I would not have that taken from you. If you raise the cup, it will not kill you. But you will never again be only human. You will lose the edges that define you. You'll hear too much, feel too much, love too wide. It is freedom, and it is exile." Her heart hammered. She thought of her mother's tired hands, cracked from harvesting. She thought of the constant struggle for water, for light, for a future. She thought of how small their domes seemed beneath the vast auroras. "Is it worth it?" she asked. The figure's form shivered. "For me? Yes. For you? I cannot say. Some cages are safe. Some skies are too wide." Then, as suddenly as he had appeared, he dissolved back into the storm, leaving only a faint shimmer in the sand. Mara stood there long after, the wind tugging at her clothes, her mind echoing with his words. That night, she dreamed again of the chalice, silver waves folding her body into light. She woke with tears on her cheeks and a single thought she could not shake. Perhaps to stop being human was not to lose oneself, but to become something vast enough to hold everything. The next day, she walked into the ruins.